and I was able to go off base and do things. But man, the heat and the humidity, way worse than Missouri.
Really?
I'm telling you, you walk outside and you're sweating. It's
in
horrible.
Japan?
Yeah.
Really?
They got typhoons, and you can't go outside. Sometimes they got to bring the food to your barracks, and I remember looking out the window and seeing this big boulder just sliding down the road. So I mean, you couldn't drive. I mean, so it was definitely safer than the ones in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Sure.
It wasn't that bad.
Cool. All right. So you're in the Marines and you're in there for 8 years, and then you got out. So how'd that go? I really don't even know.
Well, when I was planning on getting out, and just before I got out, my initial plans was to get with the Missouri Highway Patrol.
Okay.
And I actually signed up for them, and they gave me a date. And I think the date was January 2016 was when they were going to send me through their school. That was what the letter and everything said. Well, I was getting out in May of 2015, but my end of active service was July. I had so much time on the books to take because I didn't get a whole lot of time to come home, between all those deployments. So my time was just saving up. So that didn't really work out for me, and I had a friend that I was in high school with. His name's Clayton, and he told me about the prison. I didn't know there was a prison in southeast Missouri, and it didn't even cross my mind at the time, but he told me about it. He worked there and told me he could get me a job there. So I was like, you know what, I'd try it. So this is why I was in Japan just before I got out, and I applied there. I remember getting up at like 2 in the morning or something and talking to the recruiter at the prison, and we set up dates the day that I flew in on leave during the Christmas time frame before I even got out. I went to their little training and interviews and passed all of that, flying colors, and I was hired, and they hired me in February. While I was still in the Marine Corps, they hired me in February 2015, but I didn't start till May. So 10 days after I took off my uniform, I started working at the prison. So I have worked every day of my life since I've been out of high school.
So what happened to the Highway Patrol? You just said, forget it, or what?
That's how it was. Then they sent me out that long. I just, they use the word institutionalized. And they use it a lot in the prison system, but I've lived this life of 8 years of being so institutionalized where it was structured.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I liked, someone telling me basically what I needed to do, or me telling my subordinates what they needed to do. I liked, having timelines and everything, and I felt that type of structure is what I need for transitioning back into the civilian sector as opposed to going and working into a factory. I just didn't think that wasn't my best bet at the time.
So you said, not going to worry about this Highway Patrol, too long wait, go into the prison. So for those of you watching that don't know, Charleston, Missouri has it's a maximum security.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
a level 5.
Level 5 prison there. And so you go in there, and what'd you start off as?
Well, I started off as a correctional officer 1. Many people can get other jobs in there. I started off, they sent you to training up in Farmington. It's for like a month. You go up there Monday through Friday, weekends, you come back, and you do that for 4 weeks, and you go through their little on-the-job training, and then you officially start up. They give you 2 days, regular days off. It's not Saturday and Sunday. Usually it's not, and they pick your shift for you. And then there's bids. I don't know. This is all I've known since I've been out of the Marine Corps, so I'm not sure how other employers are, but that work 24/7. Prison never closes.
Right.
So you have employees, and it's based off seniority. So the longer you've been there, you get the bid. So the chances of you getting on a day shift is good if you've been working at the prison for a longer period of time. And when you get that post, you're supposed to keep it for 6 months. When I started out as Correctional Officer 1, I did that for maybe a year and a half, and then I went up to Correctional Officer 2, which is Sergeant, Supervisor, and I did that for a couple of years. And and then I applied for to be a corrections case manager, and that's currently what I do now.
Right, but now what people don't know is, and I know this, so in order to move up, you know, at least to where you are now, you had to have more education.
Yes.
So this whole time you get out of the Marines, you know, maybe not the whole time. You know, what else have you been doing besides working?
Oh, so August of 2015, a little before that. I don't remember exactly how it turned out. Maybe I was talking to some of my former Marines that I served with, and they were telling me about school. You know, school never crossed my mind. I didn't want to go to school. Excuse me. And so I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And to be honest, the focus was at the beginning, I didn't really need, you know, a lot of money. Life was set. You know,
Yeah.
I still, you know, paychecks were good from work, and I basically did it starting out because of the money. You know, you go in the military and you get honorably discharged, you get that GI Bill, it's pretty good money. I mean, they pay you to go to school full time. So you go to school full time, they pay the school all that money, plus they give you money to go to school. So I was making $600 a semester on books, but they were already paying for my books through the school. I didn't, you know, have to pay anything. Plus they were paying me anywhere from, you know, $1,300 to maybe $1,500 a month to go to school, and that's supposed to be because you don't work. That was the general thing of it. But you had to take a minimum of 12 credits to be considered full time. So the whole time, 5 years. So in August of 2015, all the way until this past May, I've been going to school this whole time, and the Marine Corps paid for all of it.
Plus working.
Plus working a full-time job. And you know, it wasn't easy at first, because working as a correctional officer, you get mandated to work overtime sometimes. You get employees that get sick, you get employees that get hurt and they can't fulfill their shift, and they get held over, and now you're pulling 16-hour shifts. So I was doing all this and going to work full-time. So it was actually kind of similar to how my childhood was with my father, but he wasn't doing full-time school.
Okay.
He was part-time, but his biggest thing was he was traveling long distance between employer and work, which is one reason why I bought a house in Sykeston to be closer to work and school.
Sure.
So
that's cool. I mean, and so you graduated.
yes.
And what degree did you get?
Well, I went to Three Rivers Community College for about 2.5 years, something like that, and I got associates in criminal justice.
Okay.
And then I went to SEMO, and I got a bachelor's in criminal justice and a minor in criminology.
Okay. So that's good. So right up your alley, working with the offenders and different things like that. So tell us a little. So now you're a case. What say it again?
Corrections case
A
manager.
corrections case manager, and this job I think is fascinating. Tell us about what you do now.
Well, my current position, it's a different, with different case managers. I actually work in administrative segregation, what sometimes people often call the hole, where offenders are literally locked up 23 hours out of a day inside a room, probably a little bit smaller than the one we're in now, with, you know, another individual on a bunk bed with a toilet in there all day, and don't get to come out of their cell very often. But anyways, I work in ADSEG, and mostly what I do is I sit down and have counseling sessions with the inmates, talk about why they're in the segregation, what they do that can help them get out, and try to focus on their reentry needs, not just for their release from segregation to what they call general population, but back to society. And a lot of times, you know, we look at things and it's a big change in corrections. A lot of people think punishment, you know, because there's a lot of people that keep making dumb mistakes, and that's why they stay down in the hole. But we got some individuals that do make mistakes, but we try to give them incentives to help them do better. It's like, you know, I'm not saying they're kids or anything, but sometimes, you know, with children, you give them something good for good behavior, and oftentimes they know they're rewarded, they want to continue that good behavior. So we do that sometimes with our goals. And actually in ADSEG we have what they call a phase program, and we have an incentive where these inmates in segregation, which you wouldn't think this, when they come out of their cells, they don't have to have cuffs on their hand no more. They have television in their cell. They have a tablet in their cell. And this is segregation. General population, they have all that stuff. But this is an incentive for them to do good behavior. And we try to do programs for them to help them get out. And people that are about to get out soon, we don't want them to get out from the hole. We want them to get out from general population, because that's where all the better programs are. That's where all the reentry programs are for society. I couldn't imagine, being a citizen of Missouri and have someone that's been, cooped up in a sense inside a cage their whole life, and that's all they know, and that be their sense of normal in return to society from there. It's not that great for their mental health.
Right.
So our whole goal is to try to get them out of the hole. I mean, since I've been there, and I don't mean to brag, so if anyone from work's watching this, I worked really extremely hard to get as many people out of the hole as I could. And we reduced the amount of offenders we had in ADSEG by 72. So we have a maximum capacity in my housing unit of approximately 144 inmates in ADSEG, and the smaller housing unit, which is single-man cells for SEG, has a capacity of 59 inmates. So we reduced it by 72. That's a big number.
That is a big number.
So,
That's what did you say? 140 is your normal, or 120?
They have 72 in each wing. So that wing would have had 72 offenders in it, so we reduced it by 72 inmates.
That's impressive, yeah.
So I'm talking like, because we have these schedules that we have to see inmates frequently. And what I was doing was seeing them normal. I was seeing them earlier than I'm supposed to, which was kind of increasing the workload for some of the staff. They didn't like it, but I had good means behind it. I was really focused on releasing some of these guys back to GP.
Right.
Not just because it makes my job easier, because honestly it does, and it does make their job easier in the long term, because they ain't got to deal with it.
Right.
But it's better for everyone.
Yeah, the inmates included.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's better, and I'm not just talking about the prison system, it's better for society. Like I said, go back to, you do not want to have an inmate, have, that type of lifestyle and return back to society in that type of environment.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good for anyone.
It's just like, military, you being in the military, and that's the whole lifestyle, and they don't, you don't process anything before you go back to the civilian lifestyle, and you live with someone that way, and they may have some type of traumatic, post PTSD, your mental health just is not that great. So, and you get a lot of people that have worked there for a long time, and they get so focused on, punitive measures on, no, we'll see them in 3 months. We'll see them in 3 months, because that's, the longest you can see the next individual. So you come back, have a conversation with them, be like, well, we'll set you out for 3 months. So that's the longest thing. So it's like they're getting sit on the shelf for 3 months, and we're not having any conversations with them. It doesn't seem fair to the inmate.
Yeah.
So we got to be focused on that, and society. Because at the end of the day, 97% of all inmates that are inside Missouri Department of Corrections are going to get released back to society. They're going to be my neighbor. They're going to be your neighbor, and we want them to be law-abiding citizens.
Right. So there's a lot of value in what you're doing, then, because
absolutely
you can help people too. So, man, that is something else. That's a cool story. Let's briefly talk about something a little more lighthearted, a little more fun. Let's talk about your wrestling. You're a big wrestling fan.
Yeah.
You attend some of the local events, CCW sometimes. You have been to several WrestleManias, both with and without Webby, my brother. Just give us maybe what was your favorite wrestling event you've been to?
To be honest, one of the most memorable times I had, I don't know if it was for y'all, and that was actually with you and your brother and Mikey, when y'all were dressed up in the costumes and us going to that Ric Flair event.
Oh, man.
And Webby was dressed up as the Undertaker.
Yeah.
He took that urn. That was just remarkable. Every time I see it on my little Time Hop app, I get excited. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a great trip.
I was in Texas.
A little funny story about that. I'll never forget this. It was the funniest thing about that. When that night, we all went down to the bar dressed up. We were like, no, we're just gonna do it. So we go down to the bar. We're dressed up, and I'm dressed as Paul Bearer, and I'm talking that Shirley, like, woo. And all these people were at this table, and I was trying, to get my brother to meet some more people. He's dressed up as the Undertaker, and I remember I go up to this table, and everybody had like long hair, and I was like, "Oh, do you ladies want to meet my Undertaker?" And then all these dudes turned around with his long hair and beards, and I was like, "Here he is!" And I just walked off. and then Webby's standing there dressed full Undertaker, talking to all these dudes that I just called girls, and God, that was hilarious. I mean, that was funny. That was a good trip, man. They had In-N-Out Burger down there. We got to smash some of that in Dallas. That was cool. And
Yeah.
I mean, Jerry's World, the stadium is so big, man. You can't. Did you feel like you just couldn't wrap your mind around how damn big it was once you were in there? I mean, it was just huge.
Oh yeah, that was huge.
It was crazy. All right, I got 2 questions left for you, okay? I got one question about, it's kind of a sillier question, and I got one real important question. So the sillier question is, if you could have any superpower, what would your superpower be?
Man, a superpower.
Can we play like some Jeopardy theme music?
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know of any superpowers because I don't really watch, a lot of Superman and all that stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, if I was to make up my own, I would have the power to take away this COVID crisis that's going on right now.
Hey,
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of.
that's one hell of a superpower.
Man, that's affecting so much right now. People's work, not just people that aren't working, people that are working, it's affecting their employees,
Right.
People aren't wanting to come to work because they're afraid they're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I was planning a vacation with some of my Marine buddies to catch up, and this was a big deal. Man, this is probably one of the biggest things I've gotten excited about in a long time, getting to see people that you haven't seen in a long time and enjoy that same camaraderie you had many years ago. And then you find out that someone's employer said if they leave the state, they have to quarantine for 14 days, and that could potentially affect their employment status. So it's just really a big deal.
Right.
So if I had any powers at all, it would be, sickness. Get
rid of this. Yes, that's wonderful. All right, so I got one last question. I've asked every person who's been on the show. I deal with JAG with a lot of kids who are fixing to go off into the world, making that transition from being a kid to being an adult. And it's a big time in people's lives. So if you could give just one piece of advice to those kids who may end up watching this, or young adults out there, one piece of advice that might help them, in the world, what would you say?
Well, one of the biggest things I could say is never give up. I know that's a thing that John Cena says in wrestling, and I'm a huge wrestling fan, but if you quit, it's just like in sports. No matter how bad you're at something, you can find something in there that you're good at and stick to it and work on your weaknesses.
Right.
There's a lot of times that I've wanted to quit. There's been times where I just, and it's with every job. Every job has that. But in your youth especially, it's the worst. I didn't, get to experience, as much employment other than the Marines, and I couldn't just quit because you're on contract. But I see a lot of young people, quitting their job because they get tired, fed up with their employer or whatever. You go to the next one, you're going to have the same thing. If it's something that you want to succeed at and you want to develop, I don't see careers looking good at your resumes when it shows that you went from this employer after a month to another one to another one to another one.
Right.
So you want to try to focus on what you want to do. It's okay to do something that you don't want to do at first, and then do something and stick with it and learn something and develop on that skill. You're not always going to get what you want. I mean, I wanted to be a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
But, Webby's kind of making the joy out of it with his little, backyard beatdown.
Hey, that's
pretty phenomenal. So it's kind of like, yeah, you got your
Hey, we'll throw a
thing
little
there.
shout out to it. Hey, check it out. It's on YouTube. It's a backyard beatdown, and there's wrestling with Webby. It's good stuff. It's all filmed here with the Call Recording Studio under that umbrella. Check it out. Farva's on there. It's good stuff, man. Hopefully we get to keep living it out and having a good time. And man, Farva, Wes, thank you so much for coming on the channel. I think it's been really good. I hope that lots of people out there could use your story to their advantage as well, because you have a cool story. You've done a lot of cool things that I know that you should be proud of and other people should be proud of. And it's been a heck of a. I've really enjoyed you being here on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care.